What's up, people? Welcome to a special GSC discussion. I think we'll just call it that. I don't know. We're going to talk about Guardians of the Galaxy. We've seen it today. We're going to, I guess, fill it with spoilers because there's no other way to talk about it. So I'm Jamie C, joined by Johnny.
Yo.
And Mr. WG Lauchi.
I am here.
Mr. at XWGX Lauchi.
All right,
We'll
don't fucking milk it.
Or just Ben, if we will. Right, so yeah, as I was saying there in the introduction, we will fill this with spoilers because if we tried to talk about a film that we're this excited about and this happy with, then we're going to have to talk about what's happened in it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, first of all, then, before we really go into any detail, I just want to know what your feelings were going into this film, where your excitement levels were this morning, where they are now you've come away from the film.
Okay.
What do you think then, Johnny?
Well, before I was very interested. I thought it looked funny. The trailers made it look pretty cool. So I was really excited before the movie. Watching it is exactly what I thought it would be, and just a great Marvel film. I wouldn't say it's not the best. It's probably the most quirky, I think, but it sort of has to be with all the space and the raccoon and stuff like that, the weird characters. But yeah, I'm very satisfied. And I would rank it as a great Marvel movie. So I enjoyed it.
Ben, I know you were excited this morning.
Yeah, I was super hyped going into this film, right? They've been talking a lot about this movie. You know, there's been stuff coming out from Marvel where like multiple execs are saying this is the best script they've ever had and stuff like that. So I went in with really high expectations, and I can't believe it, but the film actually beat my expectations. It was better than I thought it was going to be. I thoroughly enjoyed it. From start to finish, I loved it. There wasn't a single part of this film that I thought like, man, that was a bit shit. Well, maybe one part, but I don't really count. We'll talk about that later because it's after the credits. But no, as I was leaving and walking away, I was thinking to myself, and I'm still kind of thinking to myself, did I enjoy this as much as I enjoyed Captain America 2? I'm still debating it in my head whether this might be my new favorite Marvel film that I've seen. So thoroughly enjoyed it.
I think throughout this recording, we'll start to establish what our favorite Marvel movie is now then, because there's a lot of talk about Captain America 2 in there, and we'll put a lot of focus on that. But with this film then, my main worry going into this film is that James Gunn had a task on his hands of making his first big, production like this. This is a massive step for him from going from things like Super and Sliver, which I've watched Super recently, and I do enjoy his stuff. He was definitely the right man for this. But my worry then is that you've got this team of 5, and let's take the previous films, things like Iron Man, Hulk, Thor. You've had a whole film to establish this character, but with Guardians of the Galaxy, you had to get 5 in there. So my worry was that the origins for all 5 of them might have shrouded the film, and that we would have got a bit lost in that. So I'm very, very happy coming away from this knowing that the origins for every character were really well placed and did not take up more time than they needed.
See, now I would argue that there were a few characters in this film that maybe didn't get the sort of 2 characters in particular that I thought maybe didn't get the backstory explanation that they needed, right? And one that, or a couple that were kind of completely throw away as well. But I guess we'll talk about that when we speak about the actual characters in a bit. Like Rocket, Star-Lord, and is it Gamora?
Gamora, yeah.
Yeah, I forgot her name already. I know, it shows how much I was like loving it. But no, those 3, they had really solid backstories that like sort of get explained throughout the film, you know? Like Rocket, especially when he goes off on one about like, you know, I didn't ask to be experimented on and stuff at that one point. Really touching, man. Like really like helped develop his character. But like Drac and Groot, you didn't really hear that much. I mean, with it is Drac, right? Drax. See, these names, man.
This is an important
eventually.
Point. The thing is, I'm glad that we make these mistakes because the truth is, we're not massive comic book fans. We're movie-going fans, and we're nerds. Our YouTube page is supposed to be about video games, for God's sake, but we enjoyed this film so much that we wanted to talk about it.
This is true.
Yeah, the backstory of these characters, this is why I was talking about it, because to us these are new characters.
Yeah.
To like film, like comic book nerds, it's going to be like, oh well, they didn't do this, they didn't do that, they didn't do this. But I still think we got enough of what we needed for every character.
I mean,
Do you not-
literally before going into the film, everything I knew about Guardians of the Galaxy was from Wikipedia. I've never read one of their comics or one of their graphic novels or anything like that. So, like, I guess after I've seen this movie a few times, I'll know these names like the back of my hand. But Drax, really, all we got was his family was killed at some point and he wants revenge. Like that is it. That's all we really learned about him, which I mean, I guess is okay, but it does kind of make him feel flatter than the others when the others have sort of richer backstories. And Groot as well, the big tree man Groot. We literally don't know anything about him. Like, at what point did he meet up with Rocket and stuff? Like,
there is room to grow on this, though, isn't there? Like grow, literally, lol. But like, okay, let's go through the characters then. And I think it's probably important that we start with Star-Lord, because he is, by obviously by the end of the film, he's established himself as like a leader for this rogue team. And at the start, we open with a scene with him as a child, and it's very, very touching. It pulls on the heartstrings straight away, this film, even before the Marvel logo comes up, right?
I mean, straight up, there and then, yeah, the most heart-wrenching moment of the entire film, and they open with it, right?
Well, I mean, I would argue later on there's a scene that had me tearing up. But yeah, so we open up the film and we're in this hospital and we see Peter Quill as a child, and he's carrying his little Sony Walkman with him, which is a very important. It's probably the most important part of the film.
It is equally as important.
Stones, well, I was going to say Infinity Stones. That's going to be the topic of a bigger picture in the Marvel universe, but I thought the Walkman was the most important part of the film because it sets the tempo, and the music choices that James Gunn has made just some of the best film decisions ever.
It had an amazing soundtrack, and I was really surprised because I'm not usually into that sort of like classic pop and stuff, man. But I mean, I enjoyed it. It set the tone really well.
Facing back to a better time, eh? No, I've said that before though on a podcast and got in trouble. But no, I'm more of an 80s. This is a lot of like 70s stuff. And so the purpose of the mixtape, and it does come up towards the end of the film, is that this is something that his mum's given him, and she wanted him to listen to the music she grew up with or that she loves. And so it's the only thing he's got left, because at the start of the film, we see the scene in this hospital and his mum's on her deathbed. They do mention the father, but like in a way that he's not around anymore, almost like she calls him an angel as well. So we kind of established this idea that the father's dead.
Yeah.
And yeah, and so when his mum dies, he runs away from the hospital, and that's when he's Flight of the Navigator style goes off in a spaceship, right?
Immediately like picked up by a spacecraft, man, the moment he gets outside.
Did you think Flight of the Navigator when you saw that scene?
It's been a while since I've seen Flight of the Navigator, man. So there used to be an old BBC show called Aquila, right? With this ancient Roman spaceship, and in my head that gets mixed with Flight of the Navigator now, so I don't know which is which.
Geordie Racer, right? But yeah, so I mean, he's abducted, and then we get the credits rolling, and at this point, everybody's just like, "Wow, you've just hit us with almost like an up moment straight away," you know, and but then the next scene after the credits is an adult Peter Quill. He's more comfortable, and he's listening to his music again, but he's really confident and cocky in his stride, and he's on this planet that we know nothing about, and he's never been there, but he's showing so much confidence in his character that he just sets himself up there and then.
Yeah,
I think Chris Pratt, just a brilliant job, right?
I was really worried about Chris Pratt, to be honest, because I haven't really seen him in anything before other than like the Star Wars Connect adverts, which were all right, but I've never seen him like in a film as the lead character, so I was kind of worried about how he would like perform and stuff. And now I honestly can't imagine anyone else playing that role, so he fucking owned it, man.
I mean, I don't watch Parks and Rec, so I don't know if you guys watch that.
No.
I mean, that's the show that he's on. But I mean, this year for me, he's already been in the Lego Movie and just killed it with that. I know that's only voice work. I mean, he's Emmett. He's the main character.
Ah, right. He was brilliant.
So he kills it straight away. Like, it's hilarious stuff there. And he is like the new lead in the Jurassic World film that's coming out. So, I mean, there's a bright future for this guy, and he's shaped up. He's looking healthy instead of being all fat and out of shape like he used to be. He's married to Anna Faris, and they have a little kid together as well. So everything's coming up Millhouse for him. But no, like I was saying earlier, I thought Gianni's not here, so I better put like a little Gianni bit in there. But then I'll say about his cockiness, it's not, I don't mean so much cockiness, but like confidence in himself. And from what he was as an 8-year-old boy to going 26 years later in this outer space, like that character just stays throughout the film, doesn't it? And it's so strong to see that binding this team together, this team of people this team of misfits that you just wouldn't expect to ever see together. And he does a great job in himself as an actor as well as the character, right?
Yeah,
totally, man. Just to speak on that, like that extended opening sequence where we get the title card and stuff. I mean, I think it was kind of a brave decision for them to start off with that like emotional gut punch, but it's immediately reeled back in with that sequence, which is really, it's like an extended dance and miming to music sequence, man, which like sounds kind of corny. He's like singing into this alien rat that he's just caught and stuff, but that it really does set the tone for the movie then, like from then on out. And like it never really lets up and becomes super serious. I mean, there's serious moments, but that sort of air of like whimsy and fun is just there throughout the entire rest of the film. I like it, man. It was solid.
You touched on Drax a little bit earlier. Let's get him out of the way. I mean, yeah, his backstory seems to be the most shaded in a way. I mean, he's quite blatant about what his problem is in life and how it's about revenge on Ronan, who is the villain in this film. His family have been murdered by Ronan, and there is a story there to it. And obviously, in the graphic novel world, it will be a lot more expanded. But another worry maybe then is, do you think Dave Bautista, the wrestler, has come across well on screen?
Yeah, I thought so. I thought he did an admirable job. What did you reckon? I thought it was good.
I'll tell you.
I don't know. Do you have like Scorpion King 3 to compare it to as well?
Was he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He has done some other smaller parts, but this for him, if this takes off well for him and they're really well received as his acting, then this is the one for him.
I think it was a very complicated role, but I thought he did it well.
I'll tell you one thing I appreciated about Drax as a character, right? Is that, you know, in films, usually you've got like the funny guy. Like there'll be like a cast of characters, and then you'll have the funny guy. Yeah. This film is so like sort of out there that everybody is the funny guy, and he is the straight guy. So like he is there to be the straight guy that doesn't get jokes and stuff, and it ends up being funnier than if there was just one funny guy. Like him being the straight guy that doesn't get the humor and the references and stuff, or like the turns of phrase because he's super literal. Like it ends up being really, really funny.
And that's a race thing, isn't it? They highlight that in the film. It's something that his race are just a literal being. They take everything so literal. And then it said something about it flying over his head. And at that point, he's like, wouldn't I've got like great reflexes or something. I'd never let anything go over my head. Yeah, I'd catch it. And that just, I think that and the scene where he realizes he can't beat Ronan on his own, they're the two greatest moments for him in the film, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he ended up being a really enjoyable character. Like when I first heard the casting that Bautista was going to be in it, I'll be honest, I was like, oh my god, really? But it ended up not being bad at all. Maybe because I didn't understand the character that he was going to be playing. You know, if I was more familiar with the source material, then maybe I would have been like, actually, you know, that could work. But turns out it worked really well.
I was happy with his introduction. He comes into it in a scene where he's threatening the life of Gamora. So we'll talk about Gamora now. This is Zoe Saldana. We've seen her in makeup before. We've seen her caked up in blue to be in Avatar. And we've seen her in the recent J.J. Abrams Star Trek films.
Shout out to her, man. That's 3 big franchises that she's now a lead character in.
Yes. Yeah. And I mean, they're continuing roles as well because Avatar 2 is on the way. She'll be in that. There'll be an Avatar 3. They've talked about it being a trilogy. Star Trek 3, they're looking, I think they're writing a script up now and without J.J. Abrams, obviously. And obviously the success of this and the early word on the advanced screenings is, you know, we've got the sequel already confirmed for 2017 now for this as well. I I had great faith in her because I've seen these other roles, and I know she can do it. I know that she can. She almost does it so well that you forget she's there. Does that make sense? Like she doesn't stand out for a certain quirky aspect, but she's really solid at what she does.
Yeah, I totally get what you're saying, man.
Like she is great. To try and say that she doesn't stand out almost sounds like she's not good enough. But
Yeah.
she. I mean, what I mean to say is that she fits the role so well
Okay. It's like a
that she
Yeah.
doesn't have one of these unique quirks about her. She's just great, solid. You give her a role to do, and she would do it. And I guess it's just because a lot of these roles have been quite similar. But I mean,
Yeah,
I
I see what you're
really
saying.
enjoyed her in this film, and I'm very happy to find out that at the start of the film, we know that she's already planning on double crossing Thanos and Ronan.
Yeah.
Because the idea of this is the Gamora character. All I know is that her family were murdered by Thanos, and he forced her to live under him as a daughter, and
Like, experimented on her and stuff. Yeah.
yeah, I mean, she's got like modifications, and that's all him. And her with the sister character Nebula, played by
Who-
Karen Gillan.
I didn't even realize that that was her. Like I knew she was in the film. Then I came home and IMDb'd it, and I was like, "Holy shit, that was the ginger chick from Doctor Who!" Like,
Yes,
that was
yeah.
her. What? Like,
Whoa, really?
you know the bold blue chick?
Yeah,
That was her, the ginger chick from Doctor Who.
that's
Yeah.
crazy.
Yeah,
Okay.
Billy Piper.
Yeah, not that
Um,
one.
but yeah, so with Gamora, then we know that about her, and I was really glad to see that we weren't going to have to sit through this moment where she's realizing she should be a good guy. I didn't want that turn to be happening in the film. I'm glad that she already had the idea at the start of the film.
Well, that again, that would be like another subplot to add. And when you're already going in fresh with an ensemble cast, you can't really have that many subplots, man.
But this is the thing, isn't it? Like I said earlier, like worrying about trying to set up the origins of 5 people. It's great. Boom. We know straight away what she wants to do. And this leads to like a really good scene where we introduce 4 of those characters, so not including Drax. This is where Star-Lord, Gamora, and then Groot and Rocket come into it as well. And that's that big scene on Xandar, isn't it?
When
Say
he's
that right.
when he's trying to sell the orb, just
Yes.
after that, yeah.
She's there to retrieve the orb. Star-Lord's trying to sell it. Meanwhile, Groot and Rocket come into it, and they're on the lookout for a bounty.
Well,
and
they
come
want
across-
Star Lord's bounty because Michael Rooker just put a 40,000 whatever fictional money it is
Unit.
bounty on him. 40,000 unit bounty on him, isn't it? So
Mass
Yeah.
Effect credits. Yeah,
yeah.
that one. So that was like that scene. I must say though, like with Groot and Rocket, we'll go into great detail with them. But in that scene, I was just like, they really are like a new age Chewie and Han Solo.
That
And
is
like the film's getting a lot of comparisons to Star Wars, right? But
Mm.
I didn't get that. All I got was maybe like Rogue Squadron elements, but with Rocket and Groot being the new sort of Han and Chewie style for
Mate,
this future.
they
Not
are
so much the new Star Wars, but that.
they are totally the new Han and Chewie, even down to the point where Groot as a character can only say "I am Groot," but Rocket understands what he says. Kind of like
Yeah.
Chewie was just like, "Roar!" and then Han was like, "Come on, like you know what you're doing." Like he understands the language, so
Yes.
Rocket understands him saying "I am Groot" as like what he's actually saying, which is kind of cool.
Yes.
I like
Which is
it.
cool. Should we talk
Um,
about Vin Diesel's part in it?
Yeah. I mean, Vin Diesel,
Yeah.
people always, when people talk about Vin Diesel, I've always said his greatest role to date is the Iron Giant.
Yeah.
Because it's a standout performance without having to watch him be shit on screen. Like, I don't know what you guys have to say about Vin Diesel as an actor, but I'm just going to put that out there.
I
I'm not-
fucking love the Fast and Furious franchise, so I
I'm
disagree
sorry,
with you wholeheartedly.
Ah, yeah.
The
there we
pacifier
go.
is really good.
The pacifier.
I was trying to take a subtle bit of water there while you guys were talking, but that wasn't even allowed. Come back up. Right. But yeah, so like I said, the introduction of Groot and Rocket
Yeah.
early on. Yeah, Groot can just say, "I am Groot," and Vin Diesel has recorded it in like 5 different languages. You can go find that on YouTube. And
Really?
listen to it. Yeah, bless him. So he was so keen on getting it done because people were happy with it being him, and they wanted it obviously in these languages that he wouldn't have been recording.
I guess because his part was like done in like a day.
In like an
Probably
hour.
like half an hour.
Yeah, just the same line over and over.
Some of those
Obviously
were
with
done on the shitter as well,
Yeah, you can tell.
depending on the tone of the scene.
But
But
he-
yeah,
he
so
did-
I mean,
Mhm.
but really, like seriously though, Johnny, are you a Vin Diesel fan? You just make the pacifier joke go away for a minute.
Not particularly. I mean, I liked his performance in Iron Giant. I thought that was really good. But I'm not. I don't really. Yeah, he's all right, I suppose.
Johnny, with the Star Wars references, you're obviously not a big Star Trek fan,
No.
but do you get like do you know like the Han and Chewie relationship?
Of
How
course,
the
yeah,
fuck
I
did you just
understand.
go from? How did you go from with the Star Wars references? I know you're not a big Star Trek fan.
Sorry. It was supposed to be something that Johnny picked up on because it's a joke that Johnny always makes about I don't even do Star Wars.
I
when
just
it's
wanted to
about
roll
Star-
with it.
Yeah, thanks.
Oh.
Throw me to the wolves. But, and by wolves, I mean Ben just picking up on everything. It was intentional.
I know.
You
I
were
know.
supposed to pick up on it.
It was an in
You
joke.
didn't. You
I,
left
sp-
me.
I suppose I should have highlighted it really.
You left me to rot.
I just giggled and carried on.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, I'm going to move on then. Time to talk about my favorite actor in Hollywood, right? Currently.
Your man crush.
He's my man crush, maybe. Should we just say that so I get away with it a bit more?
Bradley Cooper.
Bradley Cooper has fast become one of the best things to happen to cinema. And from the days when I saw him in Wedding Crashers, he had a small role in that, and I loved him in that. I mean, Silver Linings Playbook has been one of the best films of recent years. I've watched that again recently. I think I mentioned that on the podcast.
Shout out to A-Team as well.
A-Team, like, there's no way that couldn't have worked. He needed to be in that. That was great.
Source Code.
Source Code?
I enjoyed
Did you say
that.
Source Code? No, it's not
Yeah.
Source Code. Did
Oh.
you say Source Code?
Is that what it is?
No, that's Jake Gyllenhaal.
Oh.
Do you mean Limitless?
No, I meant Source Code.
Oh, you fucking what?
Fucking hell. For God's
Ben,
sake.
you gotta leave that in there, man. Limitless. No, Limitless is
Yeah.
another film of him, and that was
Oh, I thought that was Jake.
no, that's Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Oh, that's so. Okay.
Bradley Cooper was Donnie Darko.
All right then.
Remember that one? Yeah.
No.
Interchangeable.
They're exactly the same.
They're not
Sorry.
the same at all.
Let's carry on.
Don't compare Bradley Cooper to that fucking bastard.
Hey,
No,
you leave me
Prince of
alone.
Persia. Hey.
That was good film.
That was Bradley Cooper as well, Prince of Persia.
That was Chesty Jake.
Right.
Oh,
Anyway,
yeah, where were we?
Bradley Cooper. When he was announced as the voice of Rocket, I immediately thought he would just play it as his own voice, because I thought that would be quite fitting. I thought the way he spoke just on a day-to-day basis was perfect. But what he's actually given us is something out of his locker I didn't even know he had. And when you're dealing with voice acting, I'm not sure if I'm going to have to go check out his history, because I'm not sure if he's done any voice acting work before. But I mean, it's a top draw performance from obviously the most important character. That coming away from this, people are going to be saying he's the most important
Mate,
character.
even
right?
even before the film came out, like the cast was saying Rocket's the most important character, and James Gunn said Rocket's our most important character. So
Mm.
From every character we've spoken about, this is the one who displays every emotion perfectly. Like, he goes through every emotion in that film, and every one of them is flawless.
it's a real testament to like technology and voice work on
Yeah.
both Groot and Rocket, man. That like the amount of emotion that you feel from those characters is evident on screen, you know, because they have some of those two particularly have some of the most emotional moments in the entire film, like, and they're the CGI ones. So
It's been tough to obviously do. But yeah, no, the voice work is flawless though, isn't it, with the Rocket?
Yes.
Yeah.
And that scene, earlier on we were talking about the tearjerker scenes. This is the one that did it for me. I was nearly on the floor. When he's talking about being experimented on. And
Yeah, that
he
was
was
good.
drunk at that point.
in the
And
bar,
when
after
they
the
were
bar
like, "You're
fight.
drunk," I was thinking like, "Oh, he's going to be all over the place." But no, he's teared up. He's really angry about something. He's fed up
It's 'cause-
because
It's because
he's not highlighted-
Drax called him vermin.
yes, and
Yeah.
earlier on he was called like a rodent as well, and it just finally gets to him when he's had a few drinks. It just finally becomes enough, and that was so upsetting to see. Bless him, like that right there. It's a CGI character voiced by, like I said, Bradley Cooper. I'm going to suck him off for a little bit there, right? But yeah, and I just that was just so powerful to me. And like you look at that, and you look at how DC have struggled to put all their well-known comic book and film characters, and they're still trying to piece this puzzle together for one film. And Marvel just went, yeah, fucking have a raccoon and a talking tree, and I
It's
will
so
deliver
funny how
we'll deliver
much-
some of the fucking most powerful bits of film you've seen this year.
Yeah, Marvel have really just become, the best at what they do, haven't they? DC have got a massive struggle on their hands.
What, like I said, I quite like Man of Steel, and I picked it up on
See,
Blu-ray and stuff. But
Even then, I didn't think it was that great. I thought it was okay, but I didn't think it's.
it's certainly not sort of Marvel Studios quality in terms of movie. I don't think. We'll have to wait and see whether Dawn of Justice can do it, man. I would hope that they've been looking at what Marvel's been doing with their films, and they're going to try and emulate some of that. It looks like they've already cast quite a few extra actors to be in this film, and I'm hoping they're not going to be main characters in this film. They're just going to be sort of briefly like introduced or whatever, but not be part of the main plot. And then
Right.
maybe they can go on and start building their own cinematic universe. But I don't know, man.
I want it. Like, let's talk about this briefly then with gaming in mind. Like, when you're a PlayStation fanboy, do you wish the death of the Microsoft series? You really shouldn't, because you want that competition.
Don't say that.
I
This video's going on YouTube, man. They all hate that, don't they, man?
What I'm just saying is, I want DC to do well. I did enjoy Man of Steel, but I hated the Nolan Batman films, right?
I'll tell you where it's like reversed though, and that's on TV, man. If you compare Agents of Shield to Arrow,
Yeah.
Yeah, and you've got Gotham coming as well. That could be all right. We'll see, won't we? And Flash.
Flash was good, man. That pilot was awesome. That
Oh, have
shit's
you seen
Yeah.
the
good.
pilot? Is the pilot out yet then for Flash?
The pilot leaked online. It's available at all good illegal video viewing websites.
You can't see me because I don't have my webcam on, but I'm fucking reeling you back in right now.
Cool.
Okay.
Let's stop it. Let's get
Right.
back in.
Sorry.
Let's just finish up with a bit of supporting cast, villains, and
Yeah.
we'll talk about that post-credit scene. Although it's only 30 seconds long, we'll get a lot of hate in there for that.
Yeah.
For the rest of the cast, though, it was nice to see Thanos face on.
Yep.
It's nice to have a bit of Josh Brolin's voice coming out of him, which is important again, because I think he's another actor who's been on the cards for a long time, since his days in the Goonies. He came back recently with a lot of films, and they're starting to get good. I mean, let's put Old Boy aside. Maybe that wasn't such a good turn for him, but things like No Country for Old Men and True Grit, he's got some good performances in there, definitely.
Yeah.
I probably think No Country for Old Men might be his best performance.
I gotta say as well. I mean, previously we only saw the side of Thanos' head, right, at the end of the
At which
Avengers.
point nobody was cast, right? It was just
It was just like this the whole CGI thing. This time, seeing like his entire body when he turned around and stuff, and he's speaking to Ronan, you really feel like this guy is a fucking tank, and in a future movie he is gonna throw down with the Hulk. It is gonna happen, and it could be equal footing between these two because he is massive.
I thought the scale was pretty cool because obviously you had Batista, like he was massive, and then you had what's his name? Yeah, Ronan, and like he was even bigger. And then obviously you see Thanos at near the end or whatever, and he's like absolutely giant. Just just the scale of all the characters I thought was pretty cool, sort of like escalating in power sort of thing.
There's another similar sort of like Star Wars reference there. Then instead of having a hologram, though, they actually go see him on that floating planet. In Star Wars, you'd have had the hologram to see like the Sith and whatever, and they'd have been talking like that. But they kind of go to this platform and speak in front of him. The one you see in the post credits of Avengers.
The one where Loki was speaking to him as well in Avengers.
Yes.
In Avengers, And
as much
so that's another little Star Wars thing there.
As much as I hate the villain in this movie, and I think he's fucking terrible, shout out to him for breaking that Watcher guy's neck in the middle, because that guy was annoying in Avengers as well when he was talking down to Loki.
Yeah.
And he was talking down to him, and I was just like, you annoying bastard. And then Ronan was just like, do you know what, fuck it. And just like blows some force at him and snaps his neck round. I was just like, good. At least you're not coming back, you prick.
I think, he isn't the greatest of villain, Ronan the Accuser, but I guess the idea is we're talking about a film again, like I said earlier, where you're trying to set up 5 new characters. You kind of wanted a bad guy that just blended in for it.
Well, yeah,
But that's an important scene though, because him breaking that Watcher's neck is a way of showing his intent and is how he's not necessarily scared of Thanos. It's only when Nebula's like, "You won't win this battle," that he kind of has to walk off. But yeah, you go on, Ben.
I mean, I was gonna say that as well. You know, like with such a large main cast and like all these characters that you have to introduce, there wasn't really any space for a detailed villain's backstory as well. And it's kind of a shame because we're left with kind of a throwaway villain that, to be honest, like, I mean, you could have swapped out Ronan with the evil fucking Dark Elf from the new Thor movie. I wouldn't have been able to tell the difference between the two. They're both pretty throwaway, to be honest. And the problem with that is that we're in like these, as far as movies go, these are like the villains of the week. But we all know, like, as an audience, we know that Thanos is the main boss, right? So we're going through movies where people are dealing with Thanos' underlings and stuff, but really we're all like aching to see that throwdown with Thanos. So I feel like it's going to be something we're going to see a few more times before the eventual Thanos throwdown, which is probably going to be Avengers 3, right? They say.
Yeah, that's what I think.
So
Yeah, I think the minute he jumps down out of his seat, the minute he stands up, the internet's just going to blow its load, right? It's just stuff like that. Like anything that Thanos does now is just going to make nerds around the world let a little elephant sneeze out. But
a little sex wee.
A little sex wee, yeah. Other than that, though, like, just before we really talk about that post-credit scene, just shout out to Peter Serafinowicz.
Yeah.
I'm glad he didn't just have that one little a-hole line.
Me too.
He was kind of a bit more important than that. Shame he died.
Yep.
Never mind. John C. Reilly as well. I'm glad that they're happy to keep him on board with stuff like this. They've kept him alive, so I'm sure he'll show up again. Right?
I honestly thought that they were just going to be there for that one little bit, and that was it.
And we'd already seen that in the trailers.
And everything folded back round, and suddenly they had like bigger roles, and they weren't just there to be. I mean, technically they were just there to be the comic relief, but like they ended up being a little bit more than that, which I guess is another testament to the film. So
definitely, right. Before we talk about what film I really don't want to go on to this bit, but before we start talking about favorite films and stuff like that, that post-credit scene, when I came away from the cinema, I did point out that we're quite far away from the next movie, which is Age of Ultron, and that's not until like next April now, so there's this massive gap.
Yeah.
So it did kind of seem to me that we weren't going to get like a linking piece, because they kind of, at the end of Captain America, they've kind of set you up with the twins to do Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. So we know that, we know they're in Age of Ultron. So that's the connection already there. There's already been mention of like Doctor Strange in that film as well. So that's already there. The only thing it could have maybe been was Ant-Man, but that's still like a year away from being out. So
plus, I mean, like an Ant-Man bit after the credits to Guardians of the Galaxy just wouldn't have made sense.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So what we did get instead was, should we call it some sort of like, I don't know, testament, honor? Do you think James Gunn's just maybe a massive Howard the Duck fan?
Probably, I don't know. I mean, Howard the Duck exists within the Marvel universe, right? There is a Marvel comic line for Howard the Duck, right?
Yes, yeah, and then with the movie from 1985, 1986 as well, with Tim Robbins, Tim Robbins and Leah Thompson. So, I've really not got much to say on it, other than like I can talk people through it so that they don't have to go like sit through the credits for it, because it's really not worth it.
I mean, my initial reaction when I saw it happen, like we waited all the way to the end of the credits, and then it happened, and Benicio del Toro was it? Yeah.
So Benicio del Toro is the collector. You
was
there
at
the end of
drinking his drinking his like glowing green martini, and then it just pans across and there's Howard the Duck sat in like some broken tank thing, and I just started laughing, and I was just laughing uncontrollably, and then like I just said to myself, or I guess I said out loud, we could have been halfway down the foyer by now, like if we hadn't waited. Like it just didn't seem worth it.
Yeah, I was a bit disappointed because usually the end scenes are quite fun, sort of thing, like it just links on. But this was just a bit throwaway. I get
Well,
it's supposed to be like
they're
a
the
bit fun.
teaser normally, aren't they? They're supposed to be the bit that gets you wet for
Yeah,
the next film.
Yeah.
exactly.
But
Whereas
I
this
guess
was more
Avengers
like
2, isn't it?
just another joke.
I think people were probably confused coming away from that. But then, if anybody was going to do something like that, it was going to be Guardians of the Galaxy. It was going to be James Gunn.
Yeah. Another thing to
Like,
point out,
he's
like press is saying now as well, you can actually see Howard the Duck in the scene where they first meet the Collector. Like he is there in the background, but just nobody had picked up on it in pre-release.
okay.
So yeah, he is there in that scene. You can see him, like in the back.
Picking up on things that nobody picked up on initially, then as well. There was a lot of talk about Nathan Fillion's cameo. And I was very excited. In previous podcasts, I thought maybe he would be the father of Star-Lord. And Ben, you said that maybe it would be like a Firefly reference, which would have been
Almost
really good.
certain that was what it was going to be. In one of the spaceports, he was just going to walk past in full like Firefly get up, and not say a word, just walk past and be in shot, just to like as like a little nod to that. But
the minute you said that, it did get me excited. I thought that was a much more reasonable idea. I thought that would actually be something they could do. But no, it just turns out he is voicing one of the inmates. But then Groot and Rocket quickly take him out anyway. So it's not, but they said it's a fun cameo, and he is a friend of James Gunn. He's been in his previous films anyway. And Nathan Fillion's got that tie to Joss Whedon, and so I don't know. I thought there might have been something more.
I didn't recognize it was him though. Like, I mean, you had to tell me after the film as we were walking out. I was like, "Did you notice Nathan Fillion in that film at all?" And you were like, "Yeah, he was this guy." And I was like, "What? Really? Like, I didn't even pick up on that."
It was just voice work.
Yeah.
Like, didn't even get into makeup or anything, which is a shame. But hey, he's probably busy doing like season 20 of Castle or something. I don't know. But that was Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think it's safe to say we really enjoyed it. But
Yeah.
do we enjoy it more than the others now? That's the important question. I think Johnny's kind of touched on it, so I'd rather start with Ben on this one.
I can't give you an answer yet. I thoroughly enjoyed it, but I think I'm gonna have to watch it again just to like give my final thoughts on it. As it stands right now, it's up there with Cap 2 as one of my favorites in their entire series, but I don't know if it's my actual favorite or whether I did enjoy Cap 2 more. So
Right. Johnny?
Yeah, for me, I still think Captain America 2 is my favorite. And then I'd say Avengers 1, and then I'd say this. So it's still really high up on the list.
All right. Okay. So it's not even competing for first with you, really.
I still think Captain America, because I really enjoyed that. I thought it flowed very well and just enjoyed the characters. But I'm still glad I saw this, and I'm glad what they've done. And I think I'm just excited to see them now all together in Avengers 2. That'll be really fun.
It won't be Avengers 2. I don't think they'll.
No?
I mean, Avengers 2, Age of Ultron, we're setting up with Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver.
Right.
A lot of stuff that's come out of that at the moment is that Stark has made technological advances so that they get a day off, basically. It's basically Avengers Day Off. That's what the film is basically supposed to be.
Really?
And then so he creates Ultron, and then Ultron is like self-teaching, and it decides that the only way to protect the world is to kill the main problem, and that's humans. And so so we're basically faced with this war where it's going to be Avengers versus loads of AI.
What you're hoping for, Johnny, is going to be Avengers 3, which I'm convinced that's going to be the throwdown with Thanos. And that I'd imagine that will probably be the crossover with Guardians as well at that point.
Okay, well then that's exciting. Which is going to be, well, I guess it's a very long time away.
Well, I mean, 2017 for Avengers 2, for Guardians 2, sorry. So
there's going to be a Guardians 2. I didn't catch that.
That's it. Over last weekend, which was Comic-Con, it's been confirmed that James Gunn is directing as well.
Wow.
So when we're talking about favorite films, I do still believe Captain America 2 is the best so far.
Yeah.
But in a weird way, I kind of want to say Guardians of the Galaxy 2 has the potential to become the better one. I know that sounds strange because it's still years away, but I think it has the potential because now we know these characters on screen. I didn't know their backstories enough to be able to just flow into this one. It did flow, but when we had Avengers, we'd already had all the setups for those characters. And when Captain America 2 came out, we'd already had 2 films with Chris Evans as Captain America in it, so
Yeah.
we knew this character. But I mean, Captain America 2 was just so well placed. It was perfect for that time in the Marvel universe, and I love the connection to Shield, because obviously then everything in the end of Captain America 2 connects to the end of season 1 of Shield, where it all falls apart. That was brilliant. So that was another little bit of Marvel movieverse fangasm right there.
Oh
wasn't
man,
it?
I'm so hyped for Agents of Shield season 2 as well. I feel like the first half of season 1 left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths, but after that first half, like Agents of Shield got really really good. So hopefully they take that initiative and they go into season 2 strong. Hell, they could even bring in some references from Guardians of the Galaxy, maybe some tech and stuff like that. Obviously, they've been visiting Earth before. Otherwise, how did Star-Lord get like abducted? You know.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. Hopefully, they fold it all in on itself again. That'd be amazing.
But then there we go. Then, so all in all, this is a great movie. We don't do review scores. We're just going to tell you it's something you have to see, especially if you're a Marvel fan, and even if you're not, because this could be a perfect introduction for those who want just a bit of action and comedy, and you might not necessarily be into the sort of superhero films. You might be into the sci-fi films. There's a little bit of something for everybody in there, though. So this could be a perfect starting point into the Marvel movieverse.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. I think that's it then. Anything
good.
else?
No, nothing I want to add, man. I think we've gone over everything pretty well.
So go watch it.
Yeah, definitely. Go check it out.
All right. Cool. Catch us on Twitter at GSE_games. Search for us on Facebook, same thing. You'll find us on YouTube. We're there. We're going to put this on there. You're probably listening to it there. I say that every time because I just put myself in some sort of loop where I'm like, it's a video within a video within a dream.
Video, man. Within a Taco Bell.
Within a Taco Bell. Yep, there we go. Right. Thanks, guys.
See you soon. Bye.
Right, bye.
When you hold me in your arms so tight, you let me know everything's alright. I'm hooked on a feeling, and I'm high on believing that you're in love. No.